Fuji's Fujinon lenses on NP₃. Hi there, welcome to the National Parks Photography Program, and today I'm going to be talking about Fujinon lenses that I use with my X-T1, which I reviewed in my last video, and with my XE1, which I reviewed in a video prior to that, and I'd hold one of those up, but my XE1 is recording this right now, so I can't very well do that. But I'll put links into those videos and make sure to check those out if you're interested in my Fuji camera bodies. The Fuji lenses that I'll be talking about today first is this 18-55 f 2.8 to 4. So this is kind of their kit lens that comes with several of their cameras. The Fujinon 55 to 200, and this is a 3.5 to 4.8. So this is kind of your moderate zoom to a pretty long, equivalent of 300 millimeter zoom. And the 10 to 24 millimeter f4. So this is your ultra wide angle zoom. So these are the three lenses that I carry with me when I am out and about in the national parks. And it's just great to have these three lenses, and they're not tiny, but three lenses this size that covers everything if you're looking at a full frame equivalent of 15 to 300 millimeters. So that's an extreme wide angle, rectilinear wide angle, all the way to a pretty decent telephoto focal length. So nice to have that with just three lenses. So looking at the lenses, the first thing that really stands out versus most other lenses out there is the build quality on these is really outstanding. You have more use of, so this on the 18 to 55 has a metal focus ring and a metal zoom ring. Other ones have a metal focus ring and just like a really nice solid rubber grip zoom ring. A lot of the lens body is plastic, but the bayonet on the end is metal. Of course, the lens mount for the camera is metal, and just everything about them, the action on the zoom, they just sort of ooze quality, which is just really nice and kind of harkens back to some of the lenses that I started using, with manual focus cameras when I was learning photography. It's something I really appreciate with these. The second thing that I really appreciate about these is they're sort of just that little bit faster than a lot of what you see out there. So for a kit zoom, this 18 to 55 at 2.8 to 4, it's not a constant aperture lens, but that's still pretty fast. You're used to seeing maybe 3.5 to 5.6 or something like that for a kit zoom. And so this just gives you that extra speed, which is it's nice to have. It's another option that you have at your disposal when you're out taking pictures. And they do it without making the lenses over large. I mean, this isn't, that big at all for a kit zoom. So, good job with that. The 55 to 200 at 3.5 to 4.8. Again, that's just that little bit faster. Maybe I'd expect 4 to 5.6 or something like that for a lens of this focal length. And so it gives you sort of that extra half stop if you need it. Third thing that I think is a really nice feature, and this is pretty common now with good lenses, but not universal, is they do have that silent focusing motor. So they focus quickly, they focus silently, so you're not out there shooting and dealing with this motor running all the time. So that's nice. Sort of one of the costs for that is you do always have the manual focus ring, but it's an electronic manual focus. So it's not directly moving the lens elements. It's just telling the camera body that you wish to focus, and then the camera body adjusts using the focus motor within the lenses. And it works. It's not a huge detriment, but it just doesn't have quite that same feel and that same feeling of precision that you get with a really good manual focus lens. So there's pluses and minuses in that, but overall I'm happy with the focusing on them, and especially that silent focus motor. And then finally, all of these three lenses, not all of Fuji's lenses, but these three have optical image stabilization. So the Fuji cameras don't have image stabilization, but many of their lenses do, and it's a real quality system. It does a very good job, gets you, several stops of slower shutter speed that you can use without camera shake. And especially with, if you're using this at 200 millimeters, that can really make a difference between getting the shot or not. So, I think they did a good job with implementing that here. So in terms of what really matters, image quality, that's the best thing about these, is I can comfortably use any of these 3 lenses at any focal length, at any aperture, and I'm going to get the image I want. And that just isn't always the case with these sorts of lenses. They really are outstanding. Now, compared to maybe a comparable focal length lens from a lot of other systems, you are going to pay more than with some of the other systems. I mean, there is a premium to be had for the image quality, but it's not like a ridiculously high premium. I haven't looked up the pricing on all of these recently, but I think you can get one of these for $250 for the standard zoom. That's kind of pricey for a standard zoom. Maybe another system, it's going to be $100 less or $150 less. But like I said, you're getting value for that money. You're getting something that the build quality is outstanding and the image quality is usable at any combination of focal length and aperture that you decide to use it, and that touch faster. So that's one of the compromises you make with the Fuji system is, you might pay that little bit extra, but you're gonna get lenses that punch above their weight for price and for focal length. Other things that are just worth noting with these lenses is, aside from the build quality being good, the focus on them is smooth on all 3 of them. You do have a 3rd ring on them for the aperture control. That's one of the things Fuji has that sets their system apart, is kind of this more old school system of controlling for exposure, and I've talked about that in my videos about the XT1 and XE1. Now, of course, I just have these 3 lenses. As I said, they're all outstanding, particularly this ultra-wide, this 10 to 24. So that's an equivalent of 15 to 36, which makes it a really useful lens for, obviously for ultra-wide, but also, it's an option for carrying around in cities, or sort of more compact, like urban environments or forests or things like that, where even at 36, that's extending it far enough that you're not ultra wide anymore, and so you're not committing just to ultra wide with this lens, but it's performing really well at all of these focal lengths. And so I think of the 3, this is sort of the standout of the bunch, but that's stiff competition. It's doing really well. Other lenses that Fuji makes is they're renowned for their prime lenses. So, if you're the sort of person who really likes shooting with primes, or you have a need for a great portrait lens, or, there's a certain focal length that you have, an extra need for. Street photography, you can get a great, like 35 millimeter equivalent lens that will just have the highest level of image quality, and a step above these. As good as these are, they don't quite get to the level of Fuji's primes, and they're very fast and very, very high image quality. And one of the main reasons people buy into the Fuji system is to have access to these Fuji prime lenses. They don't suit my needs quite as well as they might other people's. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is when I'm out on a long hike, I like to save weight, and just having these 3 lenses that cover such a wide focal range is perfect for me. The other reason is in situations where I do want to shoot with prime lenses, I can use my adapted Minolta lenses that I'll be talking about in my next video more in depth. But you do have other options, maybe not quite as high image quality as Fuji's native primes, but the system does allow you to use some of those other lenses with adapters, which is just so flexible that way. So for me, these work out just perfectly. They do also have a couple outstanding zooms. So like I said, I have this 55 to 200. They have a 50 to 140 f2.8. So, you know, that's kind of your equivalent of your 70 to 200. That's, you know, a common lens for full frame photographers. And from everything I've heard, that is just of amazing image quality. It's got really excellent image stabilization. It's constant aperture f2.8. So, you know, if I was a wedding photographer, there's 100% chance that would be in my kit because it's just so useful for those sort of event environments. And from everything I've heard, the image quality is right on par with their prime lenses, and it's really an outstanding performer. They also have a 60 to 50 or 16 to 55 constant aperture f2.8 that kind of fills the same standard zoom role as my 18 to 55. So a little bit wider and a little bit faster. It's also a little bit bigger and doesn't have the image stabilization. So that's why I've chosen to stay with this one. I don't think that 16 to 55 is probably bigger enough that that would be a real problem for me, but I do like having the image stabilization. But also that 16 to 55 is just has a really outstanding reputation for image quality. So, you know, if you're looking to get that maximum of image quality out of your lenses, that is a great option. And finally, they just have released a 100 to 400 f4.5 to 5.6. And so that takes this at 200 at the long end and extends you out twice as far. And so that's one that I'm definitely going to be looking into, especially in situations where if I'm going to be going, you know, out to Yellowstone and shooting wildlife, that's going to be something I'm going to want to have in my kit. Probably something I'm going to rent before I buy, but, you know, a great addition to the system. So, I mean, that's kind of my introduction to the Fujinon lenses. What I can say about them is, across the board, they're excellent. They're excellent for their price. They might not be as cheap as some other lenses you can get out there, but they are just brilliant value. Like I said, great build, great optics, a little faster than you'd expect, at least these ones I have, compared to their peers. And so, yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but, you know, especially something like this kit lens, it just works. You know, I mean, for a reasonable price still that you can find them, you don't have to worry about, oh, well, yeah, I have to avoid this setting because it's not going to, you know, be quite as sharp as I'd expect it to be, or, you know, oh, yeah, I really like to stay away. I have this lens in my kit because it covers a focal range I need, but, you know, I try to stay away from it. And I've had lenses like that. It's a real downer when you're having to think about that, whereas these, I just throw them on and work, and they do what I need to do. And yeah, I might be able to, with a prime, get that little extra fraction of extra image quality out of there. And sometimes that's useful. You know, if you're doing product photography or portrait photography, that might be, you know, fashion photography, that might be, that little extra bit might be the little bit that makes a difference. And certainly landscape photography, you do want the highest image quality possible and the highest resolution possible. But I also don't want to break my back. You know, and I want to have the flexibility that the zooms provide. And so they just work brilliant for me. And I've never gone out and wished I had a sharper image. Or I've really, between the speed of them and the ISO performance of the cameras, never really wished I had faster lenses. So, you know, I think the lenses are sort of the killer app of the Fuji system, that they are the reason to buy. And I mean, the bodies are great and well worth using, but the lenses are really special and provide something, you know, above and beyond what I think you can find with other makes. And look, they're not paying me to say this. This is just my opinion, and it's not a knock on other systems. There's, you know, I know Olympus makes great lenses, and if you get, you know, Canon L series, or I don't know what Nikon calls their high-end series, and Sony has some super outstanding, like their Zeiss lenses are outstanding. But as an across-the-board proposition from bottom to top, I'll stack the Fuji lenses up against any other system out there, and I feel confident in that. So, you know, I hope you liked this video. Make sure to go back and check out my reviews of the XT1 and XE1, and if you stay tuned for the next video, about the adapting lenses to the Fuji system. I hope that will be interesting too. Subscribe to this channel if you want to make sure you don't miss those videos or future content about photography and the national parks. And give this video a thumbs up if it's useful to you. And otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.